All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Rewire. My name is Christopher. Rewire presented by SOPHRAXIA. And today we start a new season. In this season, we will be exploring staying steady. And today we'll particularly be talking about how to calm an anxious mind. So before we get started, let's talk about what staying steady means. I think it's important for us to define that so we can all be on the same page with what we're talking about here. So when I talk about when I the theme of this series, staying steady, it means three things. It means remaining calm under pressure. It means not overly reacting or reacting too hastily. Yeah. And it also means how to keep progressing in our tasks and in our relationships. So those are the three things. How to remain calm under pressure, how to react or respond more intentionally without being so hasty or I shouldn't have said that, being more in control of our reactions, and how to progress in our relationships and at our in our tasks. Maybe that's something you're doing for work, something a project, wherever that is for you, but how you can keep moving forward. I like to use the word progress because sometimes keep moving forward. You know, you can be running in place and you're really not your movement, but you're not progressing. So we want to keep moving forward in the terms of progress. So that's what we call it. So calming an anxious mind fits really well with staying steady because what is anxiety? Well, anxiety is a a drain on our energy now for some type of perceived future. It's not happened yet. It's kind of imaginary. It is imaginary. It hasn't happened. We're we're using our energy in this moment, um, spending it worried, spending it heavy, spending it in an unpreferred way about something that hasn't happened yet, that may not happen yet, that may never happen. And so that's where we engage with that. And when it comes to calming an anxious mind, a perfect the perfect skill for that is our R&R, our three-step rewire technique, R&R, which is recognize, note, and return. So when we feel distracted, whether it's by thought or feeling, anxiety or worry, however that is, whatever it is that's distracting us, when we recognize that we've been distracted, that's the first R. We note it. By note, I mean we label it internally. We engage, we just acknowledge it. We're just acknowledging it. We note it and we acknowledge it. So we label it. Okay, anxiety. I recognize that I'm distracted. I realize that what's distracting me is anxiety. I note it as anxiety. And then I return to whatever it is I'm doing, which might be having a conversation, it might be working, it might be doing anything. It could be reading a book, it could be out walking the dog, it could be mowing the lawn, it could be at work. You know, wherever you are in your life, whatever you're engaging with in that moment, it's a return to that. Because in that moment, the mind has been taken somewhere else. It's been taken into the future about an anxiety or a worry or something that's throwing us off balance. So we recognize that we've been distracted. We label it, we note it, we acknowledge it, feeling, thinking, whatever it is, anxiety or worry. And it doesn't have to be just that. It can be all over what it is. In this class, we're going to be focusing on calming an anxious mind. So it could be restlessness. It could be something that's throwing us off. We note it, we label it, and then we return to the moment. Because, like we just said, the anxiety is a draw on our energy now about an imaginary future, which we can't change. We can't engage with that. But what we can engage with is the moment that we're in. So, by refocusing our energy and attention back into whatever it is we're doing, we, in a way, handle that future anxiety because we've acknowledged it. But we also get a chance to engage with the moment, which allows us to possibly influence whatever that future is. So that's where we're at with it. And it helps us redirect our focus and our attention back into this moment, which is the only moment that really we have. Um, so that's that. Now let's take a look. Let me check some notes real quick. The important thing that when we are doing the R&R or we're engaging with that anxiety, worry, distraction, how we approach it is just as important. We want to approach it calm. I would invite you to approach it calmly, kindly, and with a little bit of playfulness, because there needs to be, I have found it to be a little bit of lightness to it, because an anxiety itself is heavy. And so what counters that balance is a sense of lightness, a sense of playfulness, a sense of it hasn't really happened yet. Who knows if it even will? Let's see if it will even happen. So by remembering that our attitude and our approach is something that we can control, it allows us to engage with that moment a little bit differently. And it helps us to step out of the storyline because when we note it or we engage with it, okay, I'm feeling anxious, I'm worrying about the future, and then we can find ourselves adding storylines to it. Oh, it's because I'm not good enough, or I didn't do something, or I made a mistake, and I always make mistakes, and this is just like the last time, and I can do better. I should know better at this stage in my life, or you can add so many other layers to that. But that all that is just more thinking about thinking. So you're in this loop, and it can be an endless loop of anxiety and worry and layers of storyline. So we acknowledge that. We recognize that I've been distracted. I've been taken away from this moment. We note it. It's anxiety. Um, I'm worried. I'm worrying. And then we come back to the moment that we're in. You might say, well, what if it's something that we can change? Well, if we can change, we wouldn't be worried about it. If we can change, we would be doing the thing that we can do to engage with it. Uh, so it doesn't take away from that. That's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about decision making. We're talking about the decision to be present. Two different things. One is an action and one is a presence. And that's what we're focusing on. We're focusing on the presence. We're focusing on where our energy is. And we're bringing all that energy that we're just radiating out into the world about anxiety. And we're bringing that back into us so we can focus it in areas that we choose to put it. um, so with all that, let's train. So we're gonna train on the R&R. We're gonna do our 3-step rewire as we sit and we practice. Now, it's okay if you're not feeling anxiety right now. It's okay if you're not feeling worried. That's not what this practice is about. We don't need to be feeling unsteady. We don't need to be feeling anxious. We don't need to be feeling worry or any of that for this practice. This practice, and if you are, then great. You have something right now that you could focus on and train with. But we do this practice, we do rewire every Wednesday and Thursday at 7 p.m. because whatever appears at that time, that consistency is what we're training with. Sometimes, sometimes the mind will be heavy. Sometimes the mind will be light. Sometimes the mind will be restless. Sometimes it will be joyful. Whatever it is in the moment, it doesn't matter what's there because it's the time to practice. And so that's how we train rewire. And we apply that to the mind as it is in the moment that we're here. And this is where we are. And that's what we'll do. So go ahead and get comfortable. Back straight, eyes open, nice soft focus. Hands in the lap. You can be seated, standing, however you prefer. Nice soft focus. And a couple deep breaths in. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Lift the shoulders, let them relax. Stretch your neck. And if you haven't already, close the eyes. We're going to start with a few rounds of box breathing. I'll guide you through. Inhale and hold for 4 seconds. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Hold. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Hold. Inhale. Last breath. Hold. Exhale. Hold. Inhale. Return your breath to normal. Just breathe here for a moment. We're going to start by scanning from head to toe. We're just checking in with the body, seeing how the body feels. Scan down from starting at the top of the head. And we're not trying to change anything. We're just noting what's there. Any tension, any tightness, any restlessness. Or no feeling at all. Notice the shoulders. Notice the posture of the spine. Notice the feeling of weight. Where you're seated, the contact between the floor and the body. Just checking in. And notice any underlying mood of the mind or the absence of a mood. Just checking in. Now let's turn our attention to the breath, to the feeling of expansion in the chest as you breathe in. And as you exhale, how it contracts. Notice if the breaths are long, short, deep, or shallow. Just notice. And when you realize you've been distracted, just recognize, note the nature of distraction, thought or feeling, and return your attention to the breath. If you're having trouble, remember you can count the breaths: 1 on the inhale, 2 on the exhale. So the count of 10 and then start over. Remember, when you realize you've been distracted, recognize, note, and return to the feeling of breathing. Rest your attention on the breath. Let's practice silently for now. And let the mind do whatever it wants to do. If it wants to think, let it think. I'm not trying to control the mind in any way. Just for a minute, let it be free. Just bring your attention back to where you are, back to your body, to the feeling of weight, any sounds around you, any smells. And when you're ready, you can gently open your eyes. And you can have the stretch if you like. So as we move through the next few trainings, as we focus on what it means to stay steady, uh, we'll remember this. We'll remember the three-step rewire, the R&R, and how we can engage with distraction, how we can engage with anxiety. And it's also important for us to know, remember, just like we said, anxiety is a draw on the energy of this moment for an imaginary moment in the future. Okay? Now, because of that, an anxiety is typically a negative thought or imagination of the future. But remember, that moment hasn't happened yet. And it's just as equally possible for that anxiety to be something positive, right? If it says, I'm worried that I'm going to fail, but you could worry that you're going to succeed. I'm worried that it's not going to go well. It could equally go great. I'm worried that, I'm not going to get a good night's sleep. You could have the best night's sleep because it hasn't happened yet, because it's imaginary, because it hasn't happened yet. Anything could happen. And because of that, we can engage with it. We can approach it differently. The R&R helps us be in this moment and to be present in this moment, and hopefully to engage in the moment in a way that will be positive in the future. But when it comes to our mindset, when it comes to how we see our world, how we see our future, how we see ourselves in that future, it's just as equally possible for the best case scenario to happen. So we have to remember that. Something important. It's an element of mindset that the more that we train R&R, the more we train Rewire, the more we train SOPHRAXIA, the more familiar we become with that. And the sooner we can see an anxiety or a worry, the sooner we can bring our attention back to the present moment, and the more familiar it is to feel that, oh, that anxiety is also a possibility for a positive outcome in the future. So as we continue to move through this month's exercise of staying steady, these are all things that we'll continue to build on and train with. Skills will develop and things that we'll approach as we move forward. So I'm really grateful for you to join me today. And thank you for joining Rewire, presented by SOPHRAXIA. And remember, be self-aware. No pressure, just practice. I'll see you again.